May the Lord be with you. This is Pastor Ryan Stout over at St. Peter's Lutheran, and I wanted to share with you today a special video about Holyrood, Holy Cross Day, a holiday that many have probably never heard of, but which used to be a big deal in the Christian West and is still a big deal in the Christian East. Before we get started, though, just a couple updates. We've had some big Sundays here at St. Peter's, some big weekends anyway. Last week, it was a beautiful outdoor wedding with many St. Peter's folk in attendance. And this past Sunday, yesterday, we had a lovely baptism for a beautiful baby girl. We also had our parents' meeting for confirmation. For those returning to confirmation this year, we are going to have our first meeting, our first class, next Sunday, which I believe is the 20th, and that's just for returning confirmands, because before our COVID cutoff in March, we didn't quite get to address the Holy Eucharist during our year of studying the Small Catechism. And the Eucharist, kind of a big deal. We need to make sure we go and talk about that before we start this new academic series on the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, and the Greek Old Testament. And so that first class for all confirmation students will be the first Sunday in October. Meanwhile, we've got morning prayer here at the parish, 8:30 a.m. every day, Monday through Thursday. And going forward, we're going to have Vespers every Wednesday night at 6:30 here in the sanctuary. We'll start off with the old congregational favorite, Holden Evening Prayer. Now, all of that said, I want to tell you the story of Holy Cross Day in the manner that it was told to me. So, we all know of the Crucifixion, right? If you visit Jerusalem, you get a wonderful sort of visual understanding of how the tale of Christ's crucifixion played out. After he was sentenced, he was brought, bearing the cross, to the closest gate in the city. And once he was out the gate, out of the city limits, he was at Golgotha, the place of the skull. Now, Golgotha at that time, the time of Jesus, was a large rock quarry. And there was this great big rock on which they placed the crosses. They'd actually sort of bored holes into the rock to hold up the vertical sections of the crosses. It was outside the city wall, but right next to the road, so that executions could take place and everyone passing by would see the poor condemned hanging there before God and all the world as a testament to the power of Rome to dehumanize its enemies, to murder them in the most humiliating and painful way possible. Well, this site had regularly been used for crucifixions, but history and tradition tell us that Jesus' crucifixion, along with the thieves on either side of him, was the last public execution on that spot, because there was an earthquake which cracked the rock of Golgotha. And when you go and visit there, you can see the crack in the rock. It's still there today, which supposedly goes straight into the heart of the Second Temple. The same earthquake, the same breaking of stone that then ripped the temple curtain in two, or so the story goes. There was a great deal of fear, a great to-do that this execution was accompanied by darkness in the sky and an earthquake, and they were going to be expanding the city anyway. So after Christ's execution and burial and resurrection, they took down the crosses, they threw them down into the rock quarry, they expanded the city and built a new section of wall so that the former rock quarry was now within the city limits, and they used the quarry as a water reservoir for the new section, the new expansion of Jerusalem under the Romans. Fast forward about 300 years. Oh, I should also add, the story goes that a temple of Venus was erected on the spot of Christ's crucifixion, in theory to keep Jesus' followers from turning it into a shrine, right? Fast forward 300 years, the Emperor Constantine has a vision in the sky before the final battle establishing him as the supreme authority in the Roman Empire. In response to this vision in the year 312 AD, Constantine then, the next year, legalizes a number of forbidden religions, including Christianity. And his mother, Helena, the mother of the empress, was an enthusiastic Christian convert, and she made a beeline for the Holy Land, where she wanted to find all the various sites associated with the story of Jesus, especially his crucifixion and resurrection. Now, she had the imperial records to go off of, so they found the ruins of the Temple of Venus from 300 years earlier, and they moved the ruins aside. Underneath, they found a reservoir of water, and they drained the water. And in the bottom of that reservoir, that former rock quarry, they found crosses, just as the Romans had pulled them up, threw them in 300 years earlier. And the tale goes that they brought these crosses out, and one of them in particular appeared to be associated with miraculous healings, and so they said, this must be the true cross of Jesus Christ our Lord. And this discovery was heralded with great fanfare, and the date of this, the 14th of September, became Holy Cross Day. In the Eastern Church, Holy Cross Day still marks the beginning of the liturgical year. The Jewish liturgical year, of our Israelite forebears, actually begins around the same time. So while in the West, our liturgical year doesn't technically start until Advent in late November, early December, nevertheless, most churches in this day and age run on an academic year. We start up when the schools start up. And so for all intents and purposes, Holy Cross Day does still mark the beginning of our real activity here at the church. Things gear up after a slow summer as we get into the wonderful holidays of fall and winter and the Nativity and then Lent and then Easter. September really is the start of all that. And so even though you don't hear a lot about Holy Cross Day in modern America, nonetheless, it is a significant milestone in the life of every modern church, every modern pastor. One of the ways that I would suggest honoring Holy Cross Day is to look up an old poem called The Dream of the Rood. It's one of the oldest poems that we have extant in English, and it is the tale of Jesus' crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension told in such a way as to be comprehensible to Germanic tribal warrior people. And it talks about the bravery of Christ, the glory of the cross, that this instrument of torture and humiliation and execution became, in fact, his great triumph, his great victory, his great glory. You can find The Dream of the Rood for free online, the full text. You can also find some lovely videos of people reciting it, both in modern English and in Old English, Anglo-Saxon. So, Happy New Year, as it were. Just a little tale about the symbol of our faith, where heaven meets earth, God meets man, the sacred intersects with the mundane, a symbol of death become for us our very hope of resurrection. Okay? Go in peace, serve the Lord, and thanks be to God.